all going to get recorded. Great. Thanks everyone for joining us today. Thank you for coming to learn more about the Accelerate ELA 2021-2022 resources we're going to be making available to you. My name is Sharon Nikes. I'm the Director of Humanities here at the department, which means I oversee and work really closely with the ELA and social studies teams and also the innovative assessment. I'm really excited to introduce Kim Morgan to y'all, who's been pivotal on this project. I'm going to give her a little minute to introduce herself. Like Kim, you're muted. Oh, there you go. Perfect.
My name is Kim Morgan, and I'm the ELA coordinator for grades 6 through 8 in Bossier Parish. I am also serving as Louisiana's Accelerate ELA project manager for the summer of 2021 resources and the 21-22 resources. I'm lucky to work alongside teachers and parish academic leaders from around the state who have spent their summer and many nights and weekends building these resources.
Perfect. Thanks, Kim. Let a couple more participants in, but we're going to go ahead and get started because I know it's late in the afternoon for y'all that are in schools. Let's jump to it. So we're going to start talking about ELA Accelerate resources for K-2. So to support Accelerate, Louisiana's tutoring strategy, the department is continuing to build out resources to ensure students can access grade level texts. So for this school year, in grades K-2, you can see Accelerate resources continue to focus on building foundational skills, knowledge, and vocabulary. The foundational skill lessons contain phonological awareness, phonics, fluency, and comprehension practice, and will eventually include 45 30-minute lessons for kindergarten and first grade, and 40 30-minute lessons for second grade. Knowledge and vocabulary building lessons are also going to be included, and these will be text-centered and will focus on a variety of topics at each grade level. They will eventually include 20 30-minute lessons for kindergarten and first grade and 30 30-minute knowledge building lessons for second grade. Just from background information, we focus more and emphasize more on knowledge building resources as we get towards second grade, because after second grade, that's where students, make that shift from learning to read to reading to learn. And we really want to make them get prepared for third grade, where they're going to be engaging in guidebooks or other high quality instruction materials, and reading and writing instruction. They're going to be dependent on that knowledge building around complex text. Just so you know, if you're looking for these resources, they will be updated regularly throughout the year with all resources posted by this spring. So let's take a look at what you'll see when you click on the resources as far as the guidance document. So as you can see here for Accelerate K-2 for this year, you'll see the lessons are organized by grade level, but also two separate categories. Foundational skills, you can see the blue tab at the top, and then it's divided into lessons for kindergarten, first and second. And then the knowledge building lessons close to the bottom of the screen, where you'll see a list of text titles and then, topic and suggested time for acceleration. So it's divided in for K-2 into two different categories, and then also the grade levels. So let's dig deeper into the foundational skills content. So the Accelerate ELA K-2 foundational skills lesson all begin with a warm-up activity. And this activity is going to consist of phonological awareness or letter sound reviews. These warm-ups spiral in past sounds so that teachers are able to make connections to new learning that is about to occur. The lessons may contain explicit sound instruction with targeted chaining and dictation, in which tutors can receive real-time formative instructional data. Additional lesson components will progress into fluency, passages, sound sorts, comprehension, and writing through guided practice, partner work, and independent work. There are embedded opportunities for tutors to differentiate portions of the lesson based on student need. So for example, the tutor can individualize instruction by identifying high leverage reading words, phrases or sentence, or fluency passages to practice with students based off their level of need. So that's the foundational skills for K-2. Let's look a little closer at what they look like when you open them up. So as you can see, here is the foundational skills table of contents for each grade level. And it reads like a menu of sounds and skills. Teachers select lessons to best accelerate student learning with small groups of students. Students in these tutoring sessions should be grouped together by similar need. And ideally, it should be in a group no larger than 3 students to 1 teacher, because we really want to focus on the specific sounds and skills. This is going to allow teachers to listen closely to their students as they practice saying these sounds, reinforce, or redirect accordingly. This ideology is the same for specific writing practice, as teachers assist students to draw sounds or write letter combinations correctly. All right, so we looked at the resources. Now let's think through, how do teachers or tutors, how do they know which skill to start with students as they're working through Accelerate? So there's 2 ways. Teachers can really look at the foundational sound or skill sequence that's taught in their curriculum, focusing on upcoming lessons within your curriculum. And this will serve to preview students for new learning and help them accelerate when they engage in that grade level curriculum and whole class. Or you can use information that you might be getting from a literacy screener that you're using to determine the skills for which students really need that additional practice, so that whenever they get to that part in their curriculum, they can ready to accelerate and move on from there. So for tutors that are working through these materials, consider talking to them, or if you're a teacher working through these are the things that you should do to prepare to teach these foundational skills lessons. Be very familiar with the way the foundational skills curriculum introduces sounds and skills to students, the one that you're using. And students can benefit being introduced to these skills before they learn them in a whole group setting, and use the table of contents to select the skills that benefit your students through acceleration. Some students may not have mastered a skill for the first time they're introduced to it. So for these students, it may be helpful to offer additional practice opportunities before they will need them to be able to be successful in the next layer of instruction with that sound or skill. Teachers should use the phonics continuum or another tool like Dibbles or a literacy screener to find where students can use additional practice. Also, make sure tutors read through the resources to learn the skills needed in each lesson and how to use them. There's specific instructions in the materials for how to teach discrete sounds, and then how to blend them together, as well as other foundational skills. The tutor or teacher needs to know the how-to for these lessons before they get in front of their students. The lessons are built around CKLA, core knowledge, language, arts, but are also helpful regardless of which curriculum you use to help students through the science of reading. All right, so let's look at the knowledge building. So we talked about K2 and the foundational skills lesson. We also have the knowledge building lessons. So in our Accelerate ELA K2 knowledge building lessons, these are going to be centered around text from core knowledge. Lessons are structured in 2-part 30-minute segments with multiple readings and close readings from the same text. Students will engage with the text topic through read alouds, standards aligned text-dependent questions, note-taking or graphic organizers, vocabulary work, discussion, and writing. So you'll see the writing activities progress developmentally with the students throughout these materials, beginning with shared pen or shared writing in kindergarten. And you'll see the progression continue to support a paragraph writing appropriate. Sorry, y'all, the dog does not want me to talk about knowledge building today. To paragraph grade level goal of promoting writing independence and increased comprehension. Honestly, it's a school bus outside if you really want to know what he's working at. So when you look for the knowledge building lessons, you'll also find some best practices for embedding foundational skills in these writing activities. So tutors are encouraged to use these best practices that embed those foundational practice skills and promote language skill development during the writing activities within the knowledge building lessons. So there's an additional document in the resources that gives some specific examples and suggestions by grade to how to do this, and can really support those tutors in helping their students embed foundational writing skills. Students have that, and they, while they're reading and building knowledge, they're going to be expressing their understanding, so they might as well be bringing some of those skills over to it. So just like with the foundational skills, we need to think through how teachers and tutors should prepare to teach the knowledge lessons from the Accelerate ELA materials. So teachers need to plan intentionally to promote this knowledge building. While it's important to learn about topics, it's also important to emphasize the vocabulary and the language of the standards aligned text-dependent questions. Tutors should consider collecting the academic vocabulary and question words in one place for the students to use as a reference. Making this vocabulary more accessible will accelerate learning during daily classroom instruction. And right at the tone of the dog barking, we're going to transition from K2 to 310, and I'll be able to mute so y'all don't have to hear him and his really loud objection to the school bus outside. I'm going to kick it over to Kim, who's going to really concentrate on the Accelerate ELA resources for grades 310.
Okay, thank you, Sharon. Poor little dog, he objects to the school buses. All right, so let's talk about grades 3 through 10 with the Accelerate ELA resources and what that needs to look like. So to support the Accelerate tutoring strategy, the department decided to partner with commonlit.org to select texts that build knowledge around the guidebooks units. The department is continuing to build out Accelerate ELA resources to ensure that students are able to access grade level text. For the 21-22 school year in grades 3 through 10, Accelerate ELA resources focus on building knowledge and vocabulary. The selected knowledge and vocabulary building texts with associated student-ready materials and teacher guidance will be released for each ELA guidebook unit in grades 3 through 10. Accelerate ELA resources will be updated regularly throughout the year, with all resources posted by this spring of 2022. Each Accelerate tutoring text has, hold on, I skipped a slide, I'm sorry. I'll go back. Okay, no, I didn't. All right. Sorry, Sharon. Okay, each Accelerate tutoring text has 7 lessons built around close reading best practices. The first 2 lessons include annotation of the text, selection of important vocabulary, summary writing, and a collection of knowledge gained from reading the text. The teacher copy contains lesson-specific teacher-facing notes and student exemplars to support formative assessment. Tutors should understand that these exemplars in the student copy and the teacher copy should not be considered the only possible answers. Each text set offers unit alignment guidance to best accelerate learning, an overview that includes an explanation of what that text is about, and in many cases, how it will build student knowledge to make the unit of instruction more accessible to the student. For example, the guidance may say to use the lessons for this text before section 4, lesson 16 of the unit. Thank you. Okay. Now, we talked about lesson 1 through 2. Let's talk about lessons 3 through 7 of the Accelerate ELA lessons and break down the steps. These lessons break down the steps in the reading process using the reader circles for literary text, for informational text, or for literary nonfiction. We will have the activities, while the activities in each text must meet the information in the text itself, the design process is that each lesson will have a specific reading focus that will give students extra practice with a very targeted reading skill. Some lessons may focus on figurative language, others will focus on connotation and tone, while others will focus on text structure or central idea. These are just to name a few. Developers have created the lessons in a way that the tutors will also be able to support students in targeted writing practice. Lessons will have students practice writing with precision by using specific sentence structures. Other lessons will have students work on topic sentences. Some lessons will offer practice with selecting relevant evidence or the best ways to embed evidence, and some may have students practice reasoning. Students may also have to put these pieces together to write paragraphs. There will be a very few lessons that will work on thesis statements or some type of essay organization, but because we have a 30-minute time constraint for these lessons, there will not be many that are geared towards essay writing. Teachers will consider upcoming learning in the units and will choose lessons that offer specific practice in those skills. To better determine where students need support, teachers will use formative assessments within the curriculum. Teachers will be able to read the table of contents and choose the lessons that will best meet student needs. Ideally, these lessons will be taught immediately before they will see the learning again in the guidebooks unit, better equipping that child to succeed the next time this skill or standard is taught within the curriculum. Lessons are being written in a way that a teacher will not have to tutor every child on every single lesson. You can pick and choose which ones are going to meet those needs. But we do know that for some of our learners, the ones who need acceleration the most, it will be best to teach all or almost all of the lessons. Reading a text multiple times will help a child deepen their understanding of the content. It will help them internalize the vocabulary. Multiple reads will help with fluency as they read passages or listen to reading passages over and over again. Students will get repeated practice with the complex sentence structures within a text and with the text structure itself, and sometimes with dialogue. This repeated reading will build students who truly know about the topic, and that is our knowledge building goal. Additionally, because each lesson focuses on different reading and writing skills, working with all of the lessons will allow students to grapple with these skills while they have the support of a tutor in a small group setting. There are going to be some times when tutors feel like students still need some foundational work in the 310 arena. And if you look in the Accelerate ELA lessons from spring of 2021, there are some foundational pieces built into at least one unit for grades 3 through 5. It has a phonics continuum that can be used to determine where students have gaps, and then you can use these resources to help fill in those gaps. This is in addition to the knowledge building piece that the majority of our lessons are built around. And some of our developers are also embedding fluency practice within these lessons too. Okay, so what if your district does not teach guidebooks? How can these resources be used to help you? Well, think about it this way. Districts that do not teach the ELA guidebook should look at their ELA curriculum to see where teaching these knowledge building texts can best support upcoming student learning. You can also look at the curriculum in your science courses and social studies classes to look for overlapping topics, because the idea is to build background knowledge for these students. But even when there is no overlap, these texts themselves have been selected to build knowledge around a topic or a theme, and the multiple reads of these texts will still accelerate student knowledge around these topics. Because there are multiple lessons around each text, students are also getting practice with the vocabulary and the questions and the activities, and they get strong writing practice and reading practice that will support any curriculum because their standards aligned and are focusing on skills that kids need practice with. Okay, so if you're the tutor, what do you need to do to prepare to teach these lessons? Well, first, I would like to say that I think it's very important that you become very familiar with commonlit.org and the features that are available in that program. There are several features that include guided reading mode, read alouds, annotation tools, and even translation. You need to know how to use these like a student. So you need to know what the student-facing material looks like, and you need to know how to assign them as a teacher and how to control these features. Teachers should understand that these tools are available to assist students, but some features should not be used after the first or second reading of the text. For example, we do not recommend using the guided reading mode after the first reading. We do not need students to stop after every couple of paragraphs after they've read it several times. So if you're not familiar with the guided reading mode, it'll give the students a smaller chunk of text, and then it asks just a little comprehension question to make sure that they don't skip through the whole passage and not read it. It forces them to read it, but we don't want them doing that for 7 different lessons. Okay, the translation feature should also not be used after the text has been read twice. We want the students to engage with the text and the thinking and the writing, and we want them to do it in English. We understand that that first read or the second read, that translation feature will help them understand what's going on with the text, but after that, we need them to engage in English. The read aloud feature is offered as an option in every lesson. Because these can be picked and chosen, a teacher can say, I want to work on central idea today, so I'm going to choose this lesson or whatever. Then we've offered the read aloud feature in every lesson as part of our directions. But please know that after the students, your particular students have heard the read aloud twice or 3 times, the next read should be done without that scaffold. We want students to move to independence in their reading. Okay, so that's the common lit piece, but some tutors, some school systems may prefer to do this on paper. You can print the texts out from Common Lit, and then the lessons can be printed out there, both the student-facing copies and the teacher-facing copies. So those can all be printed, and the teacher can decide what works best for that person and their students. Okay, so what else? So that's the Common Lit piece. That's how to bring the materials to my students. But students should also prepare, tutors should also prepare to teach these 3 to 10 tutoring lessons by reading the lesson text multiple times and annotating the text to pull out pieces that you would like the students to unpack. Look at the table of contents of our lessons to see the types of activities that the students will be writing. We ask that you please practice writing the sample answers to the prompts. When you do this, pay attention to your own thinking as you write. What parts are difficult? How do you push through that? Being able to talk through the struggle will help you better support your students as they struggle with these processes. And we want you to support them through the parts that they find difficult. Consider the particular child that you are working with. Where is he or she struggling with the daily work? Perhaps it is writing a claim, perhaps it is a central idea. Make sure to use lessons that will help students with your support and guidance before they're going to need it again in class. The directions for each lesson explain that students are welcome to use the read aloud feature in Common Lit. But again, I want to reinforce here about the gradual release. We know that hearing a text read aloud will help with fluency and word recognition, but we also want students to move to that independent reading of the text. Therefore, we do not recommend using the read aloud feature for each time you teach a new lesson with the same students. So Sharon, do you want to close us out?
Sure thing. I just want to do, we had some questions in the chat, folks asking for a copy of the deck. We will post a copy of a PowerPoint copy of the deck on the Accelerate page, along with the recording of this webinar. I'll send it in for web updates tomorrow, so it should be posted sometime early next week. So I do want to let y'all know that all the Accelerate ELA resources are posted under that guidance section of the Accelerate landing page. And when you click on the guidance that says 21-22 for this school year, you'll have a K-2 option and the 310 option. And within that guidance document, you'll link out to all the resources, which are going to be updated. I would say every monthly, but it's been about weekly. Kim and her team have really been turning out some resources. So just if you look last week, there's going to be more texts that are added as we go through and create materials. Like I said, you can find a recording of this webinar under the webinar section on the Accelerate landing page next week. And if you have any questions as you're digging into the materials, you can reach out to ELA Guidebooks at la.gov with any questions. I'm going to stop the recording, but Kim and I are going to hang out for a little bit. If you have any questions and you feel that you want to unmute, and you can either ask them verbally or you can go ahead and ask them in the chat. And Linda's lost sound. Linda, can anybody else hear me? Can everybody else hear me?
We can hear you. I think that you had a little interference for a second, so it kind of cut you out, but then we could hear the rest of it.
Okay, well, sorry, Linda. If we missed anything, just letting y'all know the materials are all available on the Accelerate page under the guidance, and we will be posting the deck and the webinar for this if you want to share with anybody else in your district. Hey, Willow. So Georgia has a question about, are these the only materials you should use? Do you have freedom to pull in other materials? So you find that a lot of our materials in the K-2 realm is centered and connected to CKLA, and then obviously 310 to guidebooks. And Kim did a great job of pointing out how you can use it with other curricula. I will say, if you're using another high quality curriculum, there are probably options that you can use in there for Accelerate. And if they do have additional like building knowledge materials that you can use for Accelerate, I encourage you to work with your PD vendor with that curricula to identify those materials. So they are not the only option, Georgia. They're just one that we know works with curricula that a lot of our districts are using. No problem. Anybody else, feel free to drop a question in the chat. And if you want to be shy, you can always email ELA Guidebooks at la.gov and we'll get back to you. Thank you all for being here today. Thank you so much. Give it a couple more seconds. Anybody, you can either unmute or put in the chat any questions that you have. Great. Well, look for the recording if you want to share it with someone. I want to thank Kim for being here with me today, and also for all the hard work she's putting on providing these materials and working with all the content creators on this project. I couldn't do it without her, and I appreciate her so much. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. I don't see any more questions. Do you?